So let's prepare a tier list for the upcoming OP-06 expansion. Let's start with the best first. So S tier, nothing new here. Sakazuki, the boogeyman of the previous format, OP-05. Broken leader, recently banned in Asia. And in OP-06 he's still on top, especially as he received a lot of powerful toys. First of them is Tashigi. It's a blue navy searcher. So now instead of only Brainu, we have also Tashigi to search for our navy cards, and it brings us a lot of consistency for the deck. Another card is Amano Murakumo Sword, and it's basically an event that is a Lucci card, but instead of KO we can bottom deck 2 cost and 1 cost character from our opponent's board, and it's only 2 Don investment. Very great card, very easy to combo in our turns. And the last new card is obviously boogeyman of this format when we speak about the character cards, Gecko Moria. For just 8 Don we can play 4 cost and 2 cost from our trash. I think I don't need to explain how powerful it is in Sakazuki. We already had some players unhappy with Rebecca, so now we have another combo piece. We don't need Rebecca Hinaluchi anymore. Now we just have Gecko Moria that can take over any game really quick if left unanswered. Next all leader that received some nice upgrade is Katakuri. For me, this is top yellow deck in OP-06 format. Yes, you heard correctly, not NL. For me, the best yellow deck is Katakuri. He received one of the most broken trigger characters. I don't know why they printed this card, but it's 4 cost, 6000 power character Kikunojo. Powerful trigger that seems to be thematic going for the Land of Wano cards. In OP-06, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, play this card, and as you can see, only condition is life of our opponent. We don't need to trash any card anymore. We just play Kikunojo from trigger basically for free. And on top of that, very troublesome effect. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. So not only troublesome attacker because it's already 6000 power, not only trigger effect, but also very troublesome on KO effect. The only clean answer for a threat like that is bottom decking, so most likely only blue decks can answer this card clearly without any advantage given to the Katakuri, and it's really unfair card. There is no downside to Kikunojo unless you take life before your opponent has 3 life obviously, but then still 4 cost 6000 power. Those are vanilla stats, the highest possible power for the Don investment. Next we have You Are the One Who Should Disappear, another beautiful event for Katakuri, and again there is really no downside to it. So like any 0 cost event, we can just trash additional card from our hand to gain 3000 power during this battle. Pretty standard, but on top of that we have really powerful trigger. If you have 0 life cards, you may add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards, then trash 1 card from your hand. So much more powerful than Amaru, for example, or Ikoku. Here investment is much lower from the trigger, as we only need to trash 1 card from our hand, and even if we have no cards in our hand, we can still use it because it's not a cost. This is the second part of the effect. And who can manipulate life? Katakuri. When we swing, we can check our life and be sure that this card will land at the last life. And the last card also recently banned in Asia, Reject, 4 cost event, and we have again no downside for the card. We can choose one of 2 strong options. We can either KO up to 1 of our opponent's characters with a cost 5 or less, so basically better Gum Gum Jet Pistol but in yellow color, or if your opponent has 1 life card, deal 1 damage to your opponent, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Again, there is no cost of adding the life card to your hand. This is just second part of the effect. And when I speak about no downside, problem with this card is that it's not only flexible, but it also enables yellow color leaders to play into Amaru better. Even if your opponent tries to starve you on 2 life maybe to prevent Amaru activation, you can always play the reject, be a little bit more aggressive, take 1 life to your hand, get some card advantage this way, but also be at 1 life afterwards in a range of Amaru follow-up. Beautiful, beautiful yellow cards printed in this expansion for any yellow leader, and much better for the Katakuri, because right now Katakuri not only has an aggressive early game that they can pressure the opponent, especially with 7k swings and some pesky triggers like Kikunojo, but also the late game, either be it 7 cost mom, 10 cost mom, or just pushing with reject. Possibilities are endless for this leader in OP-06. And the last of the S-tier trio, the new leader card, Gecko Moria, printed in black, 5 life leader with cheating mechanic built into the effect. So we attach 1 Dawn, when attacking we pay 2, we trash 1 card from our hand, and then trash 2 cards from the top of your deck and play up to 1 Thriller Bark Pirates type character card with a cost 4 or less from your trash. Powerful effect, it complements nicely flavor from manga and anime for this character, and obviously because the theme is Thriller Bark Pirates with a cost 4 or less, we get some powerful package in OP-06 printed. First of them is Absalom. On play effect, we return 2 cards from our trash to the bottom of the deck in any order, KO up to 1 character with a cost 2 or less. So the common theme here will be 4 cost, 5000 power. If the cards would be 6000 power, this would be completely broken and unfair. Here we have some kind of balance, because in effect we are paying 3 Dawn to play him, because 1 Dawn is attached, 2 Dawns we need to rest to play cards from the trash. But on top of that, our leader is attacking for 6000 power already. So again, very little downside to the leader's effect, making it really unfair to play against him. So here with Absalom we have removal. Another character is Dr. Hogback. On play you may return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck. Again, add up to 1 Thriller Bark Pirates type card other than Dr. Hogback from your trash to your hand. Very important, there is no cost or color restriction here. We just take any Thriller Bark Pirate from our trash and add it to our hand. And this is something that Gecko Moria can do. That is a problem for Sakazuki leader. Gecko Moria can really easily get access to the 8 cost character Gecko Moria, as opposed to Sakazuki that has no possibility to search for the card and need to draw it naturally. Here with Dr. Hogback, even if we trash Moria character in a process, we can get him back very easily and set up really powerful turn on our 8 Dawn. And the last from the 4 cost package, Thriller Bark Pirates, is 2k counter Perona, but much more important is the on-play ability. If your opponent has 5 or more cards in their hand, choose 1. Your opponent trashes 1 card from their hand, or give up to 1 of your opponent's characters -3 cost during this turn. Absolutely backbreaking first effect, even more against decks like Sakazuki that like to have cards in hand for the combos or possible options. As early as second turn going first, we can play Perona from our leader's effect. So for 3 Dawn, not only we are swinging 6k face, we are playing 4 cost 5000 power character, but also hand hate our opponent, because on the second turn, if we are going first, they will have 5 cards or more in hand, so they need to trash 1 card. Powerful character card, and especially if we can chain them before we set up Moria turn, our opponent will be left with not so many options in hand. Then we have tier A+. Here are the leader cards that I think are really close to be top tier, especially with the good environment. They can easily take over of any tournament in my opinion. And first of them is new leader Yamato. First leader printed with double attack keyword, and in addition, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to one of your characters. This leader is a great replacement for any aggro player, be it Zoro or any other tactic in this way, because double attack keyword puts a lot of pressure, and if you don't know how to correctly interact with double attack, I already made a video about it. Check it in my channel. To complement the double attack from the leader and the aggression that we are putting out, we have one great card printed in OP-06, and it's Hody Jones. 7 cost 8000 power character with Rush. On play, rest up to total 2 of your opponent's characters or Dawn cards, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Again, adding the life card is part of the effect, it's not a cost, so even if we put Yamato at 0 life, she can still answer us with Hoddy Jones and rest 2 of our characters, regardless of the cost. So Hoddy Jones can rest Sabo, can rest Borsalino, or any other pesky blocker that stands in your way to take over the game. And it's that much better against leaders with 4 life, because if we connect just 2 attacks from Yamato, thanks to the double attack, our opponent is already in lethal range. And it's really easy to push lethal with Hoddy Jones in addition of our leader's effect, so there is really no downside for pushing the life early. And even though we didn't see much success from Yamato besides of the early meta in Asia, I think the leader is still not solved. We have so many different builds of this leader, either be it aggro, fortress or any other build, that here in English version I can see it that someone will break the leader and will be able to top with Yamato consistently, especially with the help of cards like Onami, that just for 2 Dawn gives banish to one of our leader or characters, and what is better than banish on double attack leader pushing the life of our opponent. In addition, Nami has a trigger effect, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost 5 or less, so basically already known Thunderbolt. Again, no downside to this yellow character. Another beautiful theme for the leaders like Yamato are all the characters with a trigger that was mentioned earlier with Kikunojo. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, play this card. So basically any card printed in Land of Wano in this expansion will have this kind of trigger, and if your opponents try to race you or is not prepared for them, you will take over the game really quickly. 5-10 minutes game and then go next round. Another leader that I put in A+ tier is also the new one, and it's Vinsmoke Reiju. Blue-purple leader, 4 life, your turn, once per turn when a Dawn card on your field is returned to your Dawn deck, draw 1 card. Very strong effect if we take into consideration how the Vinsmoke family or Germa 66 operates in this expansion. Reiju is a budget-friendly deck because you can almost completely build her from the cards in OP-06 expansion. So if you are starting the game, want to play some strong deck that can teach you about the game mechanics, I think Reiju is perfect choice here. And what Germa 66 characters we have? We have our Power Rangers from manga and anime. Starting with Ichiji, starting with the baby versions, any character from Germa 66 siblings can be transformed on your turn with Dawn -1. So we already see how great they work with the leader's effect. And here for Ichiji, if we transform him as early as turn 2 going second, we have really powerful 7000 power character. On play, if the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to or less than the number of your opponent's field, give up to one of your opponent's characters -2000 power during this turn, and this character gains rush. Powerful character that we can play early in the game to take over the early game and the board if needed. And again, because we need to minus Dawn to transform our Ichiji into the big version, there is no downside. We are sure that on-play effect will activate, and not only that, we can play Ichiji not only from our hand but also from trash to transform him, and it's a team for all of our Vinsmoke siblings. And obviously our leader allows us to draw 1 card, so we are getting the hand advantage as well. The next one is Niji, and again, if we transform him, we get some very cool on-play effect, and we need to choose 1 KO up to one of our opponent's characters with a cost 2 or less. Very useful against small characters or maybe the small blockers. But most important, the second effect, return up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. So, I don't know, you are maybe playing against Sakazuki, they play Borsalino. Nothing easier, just play Niji, return it to the owner's hand and push life. And the last one, pure value card, is Vinsmoke Reiju. When we transform her, if the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to or less than the number on your opponent's field, and you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw 2 cards. So if we need even more hand card advantage, we just play Baby Reiju, transform her, and get the cards for free. Small tip here, when you are transforming the Reiju, remember to sequence the effects correctly. First draw from the character Reiju, as there is a condition of 5 or less cards, and then use the leader's effect to draw 1 card in addition. So total you draw 3 cards, as opposed if you mess up here, you might end up with only 1 card being drawn. So this is for the basics of the Reiju deck, but what is even more important that the deck has the flexibility but also a lot of win conditions. 2 most popular ones are either chaining Vinsmoke Ichiji, because for 4 Dawn we play the baby version, transform him into the rusher and just push. So this is an option if we need some aggro, some pressure early in the game, but if the game goes long enough, you have time to set up your trash, then we can work up to the Vinsmoke Judge turn, powerful boss card in Germa 66 deck. On play Dawn -1, trash 2 cards from your hand, play up to 4 Germa 66 type characters cards with different card names and 4000 power or less from your trash. So we set up all our small cards in the trash alongside the transformations, then we play Vinsmoke Judge, bring them back and transform the whole team. Very, very powerful turn if we are able to set up it. Just for 8 Dawn we are getting over 20 Dawn value. The second effect is also nice, Dawn -1, so again we can fuel up our engine from the leader, rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. So if they are trying to defend themselves by leaving the Dawn up for some pesky defensive events, we can just rest the Dawn and then just push. Next category I have are A-tier decks, either already strong decks that received some upgrades, or the new decks that are strong but maybe with some singular bad matchups or with the gimmick that is possible to play around. First of them, Red Purple Low from the ST10 starter deck, and here we received 2 new cards that put him higher in the tier list, and it's Race Max, that is basically reprint of Gordon card from the Uta demo deck, so again improved consistency, this is always good, but on top of that pay attention to Vinsmoke Reiju. This card on play effect has no limit to Vinsmoke family or Germa 66 leader, so we can put Reiju in low deck as we are returning the Dawns anyway from the field, so we will always have less Dawns or equal than our opponent, and we can just fuel up the low with the draw 2 cards effect. Another leader is obviously Enel. Enel just an A-tier yet, just chilling here. Nothing really changed much for this leader. A little bit annoying for him might be all the Moria characters going around, might be not so easy to play against them now, but we also received some improvements, already mentioned Kikunojo and already mentioned Reject. So again, even though we are the deck that can starve our opponent, play for the late game, dance around 1 life, we still have some powerful pushing tools now available like Kikunojo and Reject, so much more kill pressure than in OP-05. Another one is Uta, and Uta didn't really receive anything cool in OP-06, but what is important with so many new decks that might have a problem to play around 8-cost Eustace Kit, so we can ditch 10-cost Doflamingo and replace him with Eustace Captain Kit 8-cost and win some games with him. But what is more important, with the OP-06 release we are also getting ST12 release, the starter deck with Zoro and Sanji, and here we get really important 2k counter, that is Dracul Mihawk, and on play if you have 2 or less characters, play up to 1 Magi Kingdom type or slash attribute character card with a cost of 4 or less other than Mihawk from your hand rested. And we already know that we have, for example, 4-cost Brook that we can play from this ability and chain more characters on board. Very strong against decks like Sakazuki or against the decks that have problems if you go white on board, so be careful, playing against Uta might surprise you with some early game high roll. And the last one, we have new leader, Verona. Interesting color combo, we have green and black. Activate main once per turn, choose one. So again, we have some nice choices here. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less, or give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn. Powerful early game. If your opponent is not careful or doesn't play the early game properly, you can take over the game really easily. And here we have one of the most important cards in a green printed in OP-06, Ryuma. On play and on KO ability, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost 4 or less. So you see already synergy with the leader's effect. Opponent plays 4 cost on curve, you just rest it, play Ryuma, thank you very much, board is clear. And another one, obviously Boogeyman Gecko Moria, and a deck that can play Gecko Moria will put him to a good use. A lot of threats that have 4 cost or less, being able to retrieve them from the trash, really powerful effect. And then I have the last tier for today, it's a B tier. Here as always I have Blue Nami, gatekeeper of a B tier for me always. If your deck cannot beat Blue Nami, don't even think about going to higher tiers at the moment. In addition to a B tier, I think any deck that can play Gecko Moria, so basically any deck that has black in his identity, should be around this tier, and the same for any yellow deck that can play Reject. There is no downside for those two cards. They are warping the format around, you should be good to go. Other than that, we still have the strong generic leaders here. So again, effects like Roronoa Zoro, Red Green Low, or even Purple Luffy might be strong if you are comfortable with those decks. Maybe you cannot invest into any new shiny toys. You can still use those decks because there are times where comfort is more important than playing the meta leaders. So if you play any of those leaders, maybe try to adjust a little bit to the new meta game and you should be good to go, or any other leader that you think that might work in the current meta environment. Because if you cannot play any new shiny toys, just pick comfort deck and outskill your opponents this way. And to sum up, this is just my subjective opinion, trying to predict the metagame in OP-06. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. As you can see, I listed only up to a B tier because I think anything that is lower than B tier doesn't really matter. If you want to prove that Blue Croc can be meta, sure, play him. If you maybe like playing Vivi, play her, no problem. But there is no reason for me to try and think, maybe it's a C tier, maybe D tier. It doesn't really matter. Two colors will dominate this meta and it's black and yellow. All the other stuff are comfort picks or maybe some new gimmicks or new ways to counter the meta leaders that will be Sakazuki, Katakuri, Moria. We will see the most success from those leaders. If you want to try some new spice, pick Yamato or Reiju. Other than that, old leaders that are getting solid improvements are Red, Purple Low, NL and Uta. From the new ones, Verona is still worth to try. Maybe you can steal some games with her. And on a B tier, just pick comfort or any black yellow flavor. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Take it easy.